Hi everyone. So in this video, we're going to be talking about how it is that we actually put our papers into MLA format. In the previous video, I explained what MLA formatting is, why we care about formatting. Showed you a sample of what the first page of an MLA formatted essay is supposed to look like. If you haven't yet watched that video, go back and look at that first. But in this one, we're going to go through and now talk about how to actually apply that formatting. What is it we actually do in the computer program in order to make it look like that? So I'm here in the readings folder, and we have that MLA first page format. That's what we talked about in the previous video. And then here we have a sample MLA formatted essay. So if I click on that one, I'll get this essay here. And so let's see what it has here. It's got the last name and the page number, right? Here at the top of the page, we'll talk about how we get that. It's got the student's name. It's got my name. It's got the name of the class. This says English 101. It could say ENGL 101. It doesn't matter. Either one is perfectly fine. It's got the date. This is obviously not the correct date. This is from last year, but that's all right. You can understand how to do the appropriate format. It's got a title here that's going to be centered. Notice that there isn't extra space here. The person didn't hit enter a bunch of times, so the writing project number 1 is up here near the top of the page. There isn't all this extra space where it's moved down farther. It doesn't look like this or something like that. Then we don't want this with all this kind of extra space in there. And so this is what it's supposed to look like, right? I can go back and make it look like what it's supposed to look like. It's got 1-inch margins here, see it's not pushed in too far over to the right. Your computer should automatically do that. It's not pushed too far down here. So that's what we want on our first page here. Realize that this heading here of the your name, my name, the class, and the date, that's only going to be on the first page, only on the first page. So let's talk about how we get that. So all this. So the first thing we want to look at is last name and page number. I get my cursor here, right? See my cursor there? And I can hit the up button. I'll go there. I'm hitting the up button again. I can't go up any farther. I can't get up there, right? If I click on this, my cursor doesn't. I click down here, my cursor shows up. I click over here, my cursor doesn't show up. This is this weird place up here. This is what's called a header, and it almost doesn't exist with the rest of the document. And there's a special thing that you need to do in order to be able to get there. One of the easiest ways to get there, and this works on most of the programs, whether you're using Word, OpenOffice, they do the similar kinds of things. I just double click up here and I get this line. Now I've got a cursor up here. You notice it also went from gray to black. Now I can do things in here. I can type my name in here, right? I can type words in here. And so this had typed the last name, and then I can put in the page number. Now, one of the things you want to watch out for, if you just type number 1 here, that's not going to work, because what this header does is it says whatever you type up here, I'm going to type on every single page. Well, that means that if you just type number 1, right? I just type the letter number 1, and I go down through here, and I go to the second page, it still says number 1 there. So I don't want that, because the second page needs to say page 2. So I can't just type number 1. What I have to do is I go to if I go to the Insert tab here, so it took me there automatically, but if I go up here, you can see I have File, Home, and then Insert. And if I go to the Insert section, I will see somewhere in here, I will see these icons that say Header, Footer, and Page Number. And so a header is this thing up at the top of the page. You can also do a footer in certain other kinds of formats. You need one at the bottom of the page, and we call that a footer. And then we have the page number. And so it will insert a page number for us, right? And I had my cursor there right after the last name. And so I tell it insert that page number here at the current position where I was. Okay, just a plain number, right? And then it puts that in there. And you'll notice when I go to page 2, it says page 2. Again, if I just type if I type the number 1, number 1 is going to show up on all the pages. So that's not going to work. I have to put in that page number, right? I have to do that, and then the computer does the work. The computer says, hey, you want this to be numbered. You want each page to be numbered, and it will change it for me. Okay, so that's one of the things to keep in mind about that. You double click on this to have this come in. You can make all of the changes there, and then after you double click again, it goes away, and you can't change that, right? Then you can come down here. So you type your name, you type my name, ENGL 101, you type the date. Then down here you've got your title. And we said we want that centered. Now, one of the mistakes that students will oftentimes make is students have a tendency to use the tabs button a lot or to use spaces. Don't use those things for formatting because things move around when you do that. They don't work very well. Don't for most cases you don't need to be using the tab button. Tab button has a very different kind of a function. Really, it's kind of left over from doing typewriters, which is using typewriters, which is kind of interesting to me because most of you might not have ever even really seen a typewriter, but you use this button on there that was left over from typewriters. So don't hit tab, don't do anything like that. If you highlight this and then you come up here in the home menu, you'll see these icons up here. This one says you can align to the left, so you move something all the way to the left. This one says align to the right. Now see, that's useful for up here for our last name and page number. It should be aligned to the right, and so we would choose that button. If you choose align to the left, it would go over there. If you got center, it would go there, but the last name and page number should be aligned to the right. Your title should be centered, so we'll choose this one up here that says center, and it'll always put it dead center for you, so you don't have to do the work. Let the computer do a lot of the work for you, right? That's what these fancy machines are for, is they can do these things better than you can. So you go around hitting, putting a bunch of spaces in or putting the tab, trying to figure out where the center is. It'll do it for you. The next thing down here, you notice we've got a 1/2 inch indent for the paragraph. Realize again, sometimes students will sometimes use a tab, they'll put spaces in there. Do not, I cannot stress this enough, do not do that, right? Because again, you've got this fancy computer that will do it all for you. It's supposed to be a 1/2 inch, and so if you go into, again, this home section, and you can see right under here where we had these alignment tabs, left, center, and right, it says paragraphs. If I click on that, I get this dialog box, and this dialog box is really important because it allows me to do a number of things. One of the things it allows me to do is, you can see where it says indentation. Indentation is exactly what we're talking about here. What kind of indentation do you want to have in your first paragraph? So you want a first line indent. Okay, you want that first line indented, and you want it by a 1/2 inch. And the computer automatically does that for you. If you do that, it will go a 1/2 inch on the first line. And then you don't need to do anything. So when you want to start a new paragraph, all you need to do is hit enter and then start typing. It will automatically create a new paragraph for you. Okay, so you can see if I want to create a new paragraph, if I say, let me start a new paragraph here at this next sentence, I'm going to hit enter, and boom, it's already got a paragraph, and I can start typing, right? If I want to put a new paragraph down here, I click after this and start typing, new paragraph. Every place I go, I can put a new paragraph simply by hitting the enter button, okay? Also, I can just do undo and get rid of all those things, right? So make sure that you're using this paragraph dialog box, so you can say first line 1/2 inch indent. Okay, there's a thing called a hanging indent we'll talk about later. We'll need that later on in the semester, but for our purposes now, you need a first line indent. Also realize that you want this to be double spaced. Double space is just how many of those, how big the spaces are between the lines. This is supposed to be double spaced, and you can choose that. And so you can say, do you want single, 1.5, or double? We want double. And so it'll automatically do that. If you'll also, by the way, click this box that says do not add space between paragraphs of the same style, because otherwise it will put spaces in between your paragraphs that you have. So it does all of this for you. So this paragraph dialog box is really important. When you're setting up a document, you want to make sure that you are going to be doing that. Okay? So we can click OK and have that work. Another thing that some of us, we might have a problem with when we're doing that paragraphing is that if we do if we set this up so that it automatically creates paragraphs here in the heading, right? If I go to this, I set this up there so that wasn't there, set that up so it was none. If I say first line for this, now this whole thing moves over. That's not where that's supposed to be, right? And so I can go in here and say, no, 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 for just this part here, I don't want any indentation, right? I click none, and it goes over to where it's supposed to be, where it should be lined up like this. So just being able to use this paragraph tab, it becomes really important in terms of making sure that you're going to be formatting things correctly. So that's how we're supposed to do all this. In going back to what we have for this week, in the 20 through 24th, if you click on the assignments, right, inside of the assignments, actually, let me just show you how you get there. It's going to take me a while because my computer is slow. But I just want to take you back and show you that if you click on September 20th through 24th, sorry, we have to wait. It takes a long time. Well, if you go in there and it says assignments, and in there you will find the neighborhood writing project number 1. You'll find the first 200 words of neighborhood writing project number 1. You'll find the full project writing number 1 that you'll need to submit. Actually, this hasn't been, I'm trying to get back here because this one hasn't been updated. This is taking me a long time. If we can ever get to it. So if you click on that, you'll find everything that I just showed you. But you'll also find a folder for your MLA formatting quiz. Okay, and so in the MLA formatting quiz, you have an a document that is not formatted, and you need to put it into MLA formatting. So you're going to make all the appropriate changes. I've got instructions in there explaining to you what things you need to be changing. Okay, so finally we're getting into here. I've got instruction in there explaining specifically what it is you need to be changing. And again, it's got MLA formatting quiz. It's in its own folder. And if you click on that folder, inside you will find the instructions, which are fairly straightforward. There are 3 specific things that I'm asking you to do. And you will find an unformatted essay, right? And then that unformatted essay, you are going to need to actually, let me go through and I can show it to you here. Might be easier for me to get to it here. So it's called the MLA Formatting Quiz Essay. Asking my computer to do way too many things at once. So you've got the actual quiz that you need to change, and then this is where you're going to submit it. And so the unformatted essay, I'll show you in 1 second. It's very unformatted, and so you'll need to make all the changes that we've talked about in order to make sure that it is going to be formatted. This is our good sample essay and our bad sample essay that you're going to need to fix. Sorry for all the delays. We're just spinning here. Looks like this. This is not a correctly formatted essay. It doesn't have last name and page number, doesn't have your name, my name, the name of the class, the date. This isn't sent. None of that is correct. And so you need to be changing all of that for your for the quiz, and then you'll submit that. So that's what we have for MLA formatting. Go ahead and begin working on that. As always, if you have any questions, make sure to let me know.